what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no else, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change, yeah. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. I do not gamble, but bet on me. Tell them that's like, yeah, c'est la vie. I'm taking a shot for my enemies. I can't waste no more time on my energy. I know they know I got it on lock. Go against me, that's a long shot. Cause I'm counting wins all around the clock. Never doubt me, boy, I don't stop. Who do you feel when they make you the monster? I am not scared of none of you imposters. Taking the lead now while they watching. Think you should leave now while the option. Taking no else, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. I'm running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down, no.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier Podcast. It's your boy Mac, and tonight, man, we got a phenomenal performance from top to bottom from this Cleveland Cavaliers team in JB Bickerstaff's return to Cleveland. They spoiled it. I loved it, man. They absolutely spoiled the return to Cleveland. And if you're anything like me, who I was a huge fan of JB during his tenure in Cleveland, so never hear me booing in regards to him in any circumstance in this regard. Anytime you have somebody return after such a lengthy tenure with the team, it's always going to be hit and miss on whether they're going to be cheered or booed. And JB got a bit of both, which was kind of expected. You can count me out of the booze, but I could certainly understand why that would be the case, considering how last season ended and some of the, the verbal sparring that we heard of, some of the rumors that were out there about him taking jabs at Jarrett Allen, which he squashed. But at the end of the day, JB had a very, very instrumental part in instilling a brand new culture of winning to the Cavaliers. And we would not be where we are, frankly, at this point in time without the progress that he helped Cleveland take. Now, obviously, the players have a lot to do with that, but coaching still matters, as we are very visibly seeing right now with Kenny Atkins. I don't know how the fuck you could watch this Cavaliers game in these last two, this Cavaliers team in these last two games and come away with this team looks exactly the same as they did last year. Because frankly, there could not be a wider gap in between the differences that we see now. Based upon what we saw last year, just the pace of play, the ball movement out there, the way that players are being utilized, the bench utilization in particular, just certain roles out there. Guys are the mentality is just completely changed. It's shifted. I mean, it's been a phenomenal sight through two games. And tonight, in game one, we saw numerous performances that pointed to what the future of this team could look like. Evan Mobley was stellar in that first game. Ty Jerome showed out. Karis LeVert was also pretty damn awesome. Tonight was much of the same. Some of these same guys, right? Everybody chipped in. There were at least 6 different Cavaliers that hit double figures tonight. Darius, Evan, Jarrett, Donovan, Dean Wade, who we're getting ready to talk about in just a moment, and Ty Jerome. But what better place to start tonight than with Dean Wade? Now, on our last live pod, I said that it's going to be very, very hard to argue against removing Dean Wade from the starting lineup if he is playing this type of basketball, if he's providing this type of production out there. So I came away with tonight just truly struggling to try and rationalize the idea of getting Max Strus back into the starting lineup if this is going to be the case, because these things that Dean is capable of doing, right? Dean Wade on the defensive end, the size, the ability to knock down the corner triple. It's damn hard to to argue against removing him when he is playing like that. Just lights out basketball tonight from him on both ends of the floor. And yeah, he would finish the game with 19 points, 5 rebounds. He shot a very efficient 7 and 9 from the field, including in a highly efficient 5 of 7 from beyond the arc. There's your volume, right? That was one of the key points that I had brought up last game against Toronto in regards to Max Strus and what he brings to the table. Dean Wade replicated that, right? For a player like Max, who's taking 6-7 triples a game, that's the biggest thing that works in his favor, right? His ability to generate gravity, his ability to go out there and shoot with high volume and be pretty damn efficient when he's doing that. Dean did that tonight, and he also gave you stellar defense out on the wings. And it's going to be harder and harder for any of us to try and go back. And that's the thing. It's just 2 games in. And like I said, against Toronto, you have to take it with a grain of salt because we're not going to sit here and overreact to everything we saw. It's very nice to get happy and excited about the prospect of what Dean Wade as the permanent starter could look like. But again, it's a 2-game sample size. We do have to try and keep ourselves a little hemmed in here, right? I don't want to completely overreact and just say, everything is going to look exactly the same every single game because, frankly, it won't. One of the other things that I had mentioned in that Toronto live pod was that, Dean is never going to statistically wow you. He did that shit tonight. He wowed me. I'm sure he wowed a lot of y'all. I mean, 19 points in 27 minutes of action on a very efficient 7 and 9 from the field. And he shot the ball with volume like you would normally get from Max Strus. So, I mean, there's not a lot that you can argue. Like the ability to do what he has been able to do these last 2 games, they don't necessarily have that in anybody else on the roster, right? I mean, you're not getting that from, frankly, you're not getting the level of defense that Dean Wade provides from a Max Strus. It's all about the volume shooting with Max. And Max does a lot of other things. He's a quality playmaker. He's a decent rebounder. I'll give him that. And obviously, we brought him in for his volume shooting. But the idea of having I don't want to say a supersized front court, but I mean, you can make a case for it. 2 7-footers and Dean at 6'9", having that as a backline of defense for your smallish backcourt and Darius and Donovan, that's damn intriguing. And one of the things that we heard was that Kenny was going to play this matchup dependent, and I think we can throw that out. I think right now, absolutely Dean Wade is the guy. At least until Max comes back. Now, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I see a few of my regulars here. Crofty, what's up, man? Says start Dean Wade. He's making a damn hard argument for it right now, and I don't think you can argue any differently at the moment. Unfortunately, Max Strus is not able to battle. He's not able to show exactly to fight for it because he's not available. But Dean, this might be one of those situations where it's unfortunate for Max, but Dean might have just stolen the job because he's available. And that's been the one huge defining factor of Dean Wade's career is health. This man has consistently missed time season in and season out. What have we always said about Dean? When he's healthy, when he's confident, he's impactful. But the question of health is always a relevant question when you're referencing Dean Wade, who has played. Just listen to this. And some of these are incomplete numbers because he did come up, he did come up as a 2-way. So we'll really start with the 2020-2021 season. That is his healthiest year. He played 63 games that year. He did make 19 starts for a Cavaliers team that is still very much entrenched in a rebuild. Flash forward to the 2021-22 season where a lot of players were suffering from, COVID absences due to the outbreak. 51 games, 28 starts, 22-23. Only played 44 games. Last year, he played 54. And then, obviously, we're off to a good start this year. But there you go. He has only managed to play more than 60 games just one time in his entire career. And so that's the biggest question mark with Dean. Can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy? I think he can. I think this is the fucking year that he does it. Or at least I hope he does, right? I'm just at a point right now where I'm hoping and I'm hoping against hope, and I'm pushing all my chips in right now that Dean Wade is going to stay healthy, and I hope I don't jinx him by saying that, but it just looks too good to not keep putting him out there. I'm glad they didn't remove Karis LeVert from the bench to start him, because Karis is benefiting heavily right now from adding Kenny Atkinson to the equation. Like the graphic says right there, Karis LeVert thinks it's 2019. This man is playing. So this is one of the best starts to any season that Karis LeVert has ever had. He's been damn efficient, and we'll talk about him in a moment. But Dean, goddamn, this has been some beautiful basketball from Dean Wade. I'm at a point right now where all the people, and I'll be honest about this, I was fervently saying that Dean Wade should not start before the season began. I'm like, okay, this is prior to the Max Strus injury, but there were certain people out there. None of them come to the top of my mind right now, but there were definitely a lot of people that I conversed with that were pushing for Dean Wade to be starting from the jump, and I was not on that bandwagon just yet. But these two performances, they're pushing me in that direction. And I'm noticing that it's pushing y'all in that direction too on social. And I don't know how you can walk away from these last two performances and think that Dean is not fit for this type of lineup, because he's not a high usage player. He's never going to ask for a high amount of touches. It's not like Max did either. Max only took about 10 attempts last year, and six plus those were from 3-point distance. A lot of off-ball shooting that he was bringing to the table. And it's very much the same thing for Dean Wade. He's never going to require a ton of touches. I do not see a ton of games this season, as the season wears on, that Dean is averaging 10-plus field goal attempts. It's just not likely to happen. But what he is going to do is shoot highly efficiently from the floor. Now, I believe he was just 1 of 3 from 3-point distance against Toronto. He went 5 of 7 tonight. So that brings his totals to 6 of 10. This motherfucker is shooting 60% from 3-point distance to begin the season. Add in the defense, add in the rebounding, add in the ball movement, the cutting, which is, we saw a lot of that, a lot of ball movement tonight from everybody from top to bottom. But I just love the fact that Dean, and you can really probably say this about everybody now, nobody's standing around. Nobody's just waiting in the corners for the ball to for them to receive the ball. That's not happening. You saw there was one specific instance tonight where Ty Jerome, another player who we're going to talk about, where he hit a cutting Dean Wade for a very, very easy basket at the rim. It's that type of shit that we just did not get enough of last year. And this is not me shitting on JB in any way, form, or fashion, because I do believe JB has his strengths. He has that Detroit team looking like they're going to be playing bound, or at least close to it. I think they will finish with a top 15 defense, if not top 10. They have some players over there that can make some impact on that end. And I do believe defense is a strength of JB Bickerstaff. But offense, that's a different story. And through these two games, Kenny Atkinson has just been a blessing. This man has shown us things out on that court that we just really have not seen in years from any Cavaliers, from any tenure of the Cavaliers. I mean, you got to go back. But this was such a phenomenal performance from Dean Wade that it has many of us believing that you're going to have to lean his way once it's all said and done, once Max comes back. We'll have to see. You got to take it with a grain of salt. You cannot sit here and make supreme declarations based upon 2 games, because frankly speaking, there are some things that we're seeing out there that are maybe not the greatest, right? But at the same time, it's very, very hard to nitpick and find something that just did not go the Cavaliers' way. It was the exact same way against Toronto. But as I said before, Dean Wade was not the only person that put on a good performance. Ty Jerome, coming in at 6'5". There's just so much versatility you have with him. I released some content on Ty earlier today before the game. Feel free to go check it out. After the video is uploaded from this live stream, I will include it in the description of this, but it's over on the It's Cavalier channel. I listed why he should be kept in the rotation even when Max Strus returns, because somebody's going to get bumped. And that's a discussion we'll have at a later time once we have a little bit more of a sample size. but somebody's going to get bumped, and I'm hoping that it is not Ty Jerome, because what we have seen from Ty is that he is going to provide you a capable backup point guard, and that takes ball handling duties off of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell's shoulders. And the key case in point here, in that fourth quarter, Don did not play basically half of the fourth, and you spelled him with Ty and Darius, and it was lovely. I don't think it's going to go that way all the time, but at the end of the day, having Ty Jerome is big time, because you're now able to get Darius and Donovan breathers when necessary, especially right before the closing lineups. That's what we got tonight. Ty put on another double-digit scoring affair, 13 points tonight, 2 boards, 4 assists, another efficient shooting night from the field, 4 of 6 from three-point from field goal range, not three-point distance, and a very efficient 5 of 6 from the free throw line. Underrated part of Ty's game has been generating contacts. He'll either go in, drive to the basket, and have the room for a floater, which he's put up and hit. He has some really good touch, and hit that, or he'll draw enough contact to get a couple of free throws. And then he's been underrated on the defensive end, and it may not always show up in counting stats like steals or anything like that, but he has held his ass on that end, and I love him, man. And so Ty, he's taken that backup point guard role just straight out of anybody else's hands. Before the season began, there were a lot of people out there. There was a huge contingent of believers in Craig Porter Jr. And make no mistake, I remain a huge fan of Craig Porter Jr., but Ty Jerome is just far and away the better option for this Cavs team right now in that spot, just simply because his ability to command the floor. He sees the floor very well. There's a lot of vision out there. I love the rapport that he has with Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen in pick and roll game. There's just so much ability that he has in that 6'5" frame. And then you couple that with the shooting, right? And the height, as Crofty mentions down here, at 6'5", you have enough versatility to theoretically play him anywhere between 1 through 3. Now, do I want to see 3-guard lineups? No, I don't want to see that more than I have to, but it's certainly possible if you need it to be, because if you're placing him in a lineup with Darius and Donovan, you have a third ball handler out there that can get these guys off-ball opportunities. If you're playing one over the other, you still have an advantage because you're getting Don or Darius a breather, and you're still putting a player out there that is capable of handling the rock, putting guys in good positions, and shooting the ball if he needs to. I love it. Ty Jerome has quickly become one of my favorite players on this roster. And I think that's, this is a player that we very much could have utilized last season. And that is no slight to anybody else that played and suited up at backup point last year, because I loved having Craig Porter Jr. kind of break out in a sense. But at the end of the day, Ty he's the man for the job, clearly. I'm just hoping that when Max comes back, that he has not bumped out the lineup, because Max, in my opinion, should be no worse than the 6th man on this team. If it's not Dean starting, it's going to be Max, and vice versa, right? Those two have earned their way to a high minute role. And at the end of the day, there's going to be some fierce battles going on for roles and minutes. And it might completely depend upon how far Kenny Atkinson is willing to go into his rotation. Once Max comes back, maybe they think about truly going 11 deep, but I don't think they necessarily have to. They just have to choose the 10 best players, because as of right now, you got Darius, you got Donovan, you have Max, as of right now, you have Darius, Donovan, Dean, Evan, Jarrett, Karis, Okoro, Ty, Sam, and George. And right now, Karis is clearly your 6th man. Isaac Okoro is in a state of flux right now, but still provides a lot of defensive impact out there at times. And Ty Jerome is clearly your backup point guard. So you have some questions to answer. And one of the players that I was pointing to before the season started, this said was the perfect Kenny Atkinson player, Sam Merrill. Sam Merrill got 16 minutes tonight. He's averaging about that much. I need to go back and check how many minutes he actually played in that Toronto game. But Sam is also a candidate to have his minutes sliced, which is kind of not something that I ever thought about saying, but damn, like it just goes to show you how deep this rotation is. Sam played 16 minutes against Toronto in a blowout victory. He played 15 tonight in a little bit of a closer game against Detroit, but this just goes to show you that this team is a lot deeper than it was last year. And we didn't really even have to make additions to the squad outside of Jaylon Tyson, who is not even in the rotation right now. And that's crazy. You got Ty Jerome back from his injury because he only played 2 games last season. And you've added Jaylon Tyson to the roster. But outside of that, there are no real big names that are ready right now because Travers, Bates, Thor, those guys will come in time. Their time will eventually come once the Cavaliers are ready to move off as some of the players at the end of their current rotation who may be getting older, who could draw trade value. But right now, the point is this team could legitimately run 11, 12 deep. And this is, y'all didn't even hear me mention Tristan Thompson, right? Tristan Thompson is not even in the rotation. And last year, there was a legitimate case to be made for continuously playing him every single game, right? There's still clear falls. You still technically need a true backup 4-5 out there that can spell Evan or Jarrett, but that hasn't necessarily been something that the Cavaliers have been hurt by just yet. Granted, it's only been 2 games, but damn, it just goes to show you how deep the rotation currently is right now. Crofty says, go 11 deep when Max is healthy. I'm hoping because frankly, I don't want anybody to miss out because all of these guys are deserving of minutes, but it may not turn out that way. Mamadou says, who gets cut from the rotation then? If I was a betting man, I would say the first person out of the rotation with Max back would be Niang. Because I think simply Dean Wade, and this is going to be whatever decision they make. If they decide that they're going to start Max Strus over Dean Wade, Dean instantly becomes the backup 4. If they decide that they are going to start Max Strus, if they decide that they're going to start Dean Wade, then Max Strus is obviously bumped to a high minute role off the bench. And you're probably likely going to ask, for somebody else because you're going to need backup 4 minutes from Niang in that case. So it's a little bit difficult. If you're going to run 10 deep, I would assume that Niang is cut from the rotation if you're starting Max. If you're starting Dean, it's a little bit more complicated than that because you're going to need somebody who can play those backup 4 minutes. And there's not very many people on the roster right now that are capable of doing that. I suppose you could play around and fitch it with different minutes, different minutes distribution totals for Dean playing some of the 3, some of the 4, even if he starts just in specific lineups. You could theoretically place Jaylon Tyson out there, a small ball 4. You could even play why am I tripping? You could even play Karis LeVert some backup 4 minutes in specific lineups if you're going small ball. But there's just a lot of different things that Kenny Atkinson can work around and play around with. But that is going to be a question later on down the line, especially as the playoffs near, is who is going to be removed from rotation. We can assume that there are a couple that are automatically ruled out, like Tristan, like Craig Porter Jr., like Jaylon Tyson. But beyond that, it gets a little bit more difficult. If I was a betting man right now, though, I'd say that when Max returns, if they intend to start Max over Dean, then Niang gets benched. After that, I don't know. But yes, Ty Jerome, I know we kind of got off topic there, but Ty Jerome was phenomenal tonight. Dean was phenomenal tonight. Karis has been playing some of the best basketball to start his career that he's ever had through 2 games. And I think a lot of that is being empowered by Kenny Atkinson and having somebody who truly believes in him, having his role kind of streamlined out there because Karis only played 20 minutes. But I loved the impact on both ends of the floor that we got from Karis. 3 steals from Karis LeVert tonight. Cavaliers in general have been a menace out there in deflecting the ball. I got to check the deflection stats after they go up for after this game because I believe that the Cavaliers are deflecting the ball at a crazy rate right now. They had 13 steals tonight to Detroit's 3. They got out rebounded, but it didn't matter. They turned the ball over 12 times to Detroit's 22. Just insane numbers that you're in production on the defensive end that you're getting from these guys. And it's not like they just shut Detroit down, because Detroit did shoot 47% from the field, including 41% from 3-point distance on relatively decent volume at 32 attempts. But it felt like they had their hand on every pass. They were playing the passing lane so well. And I just love that, because a lot of people were questioning whether or not the increased pace, the offensive approach that Kenny Atkinson wants to take with the elevated three-point attempts and the ball movement, they were wondering if we would lose a little bit of something on the defensive end. And I just don't think that's been the case. I don't think we've lost our defensive identity at all, which is great, because if you're combining stellar defense, and I truly do believe by the end of the year, bookmark this shit, clip it. I don't care what you do. I think the Cavaliers will be a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense this season under Kenny Atkinson. And I think Kenny Atkinson will win Coach of the Year. We'll have to tell. It's only 2 games in, but that's my overreaction for right now. Devontae Broom says, I like our roster, but Niang and Okoro must be. If not, the Cavs will regret playoff time. Watch. I'm assuming that you're talking about out of the rotation. In that sense, as much as I love Isaac, I mean, there is a case to be made for a couple of different players to be benched. I am a lot higher on Okoro than I am Niang, but both of them still have their places on the roster. Vance LeCrunch says, I agree. I bet we are going to put up rare deflection numbers. Reminds me of 2018 Golden State when they locked in on D. Yeah. And I think that's the key word right there. Locked in. Keywords. Nate says, I want to see what Okoro can do in this new offense. I like how he has been setting screens a lot. Yes. So Okoro, similar to Max, similar to Dean, is not going to be a guy that requires a lot of touches to be impactful. For Okoro, it's a little different because he's not a volume shooter at all. And you're not seeing high minute or point production from him right now through 2 games. He took just 2 field goal attempts tonight, and I think it was relatively the same when they took on Toronto. I'm going to go back and check here, but Okoro, same amount, 2 field goal attempts against Toronto as well. But he is one of those guys that can provide you impact in other ways. If he's out there playing hellacious defense out on the perimeter, you can stomach some of the other things that he is not providing if you're playing him alongside other players who can actually shoot the ball. And the way that Kenny talked about using him as a screener, cutting to the basket a lot more, you're seeing that play out. And that is why he is still getting minutes. But we're going to have to see how this looks long-term, especially once Max comes back. We'll see. Lord Luke says, did you see the walk-up 3 by Mobley? Boy, did I. Yeah, I saw that shit. It was beautiful. Props to Tony Pesta for posting the clip to that. I tried to get it, couldn't get it. But he says, man, his confidence is higher than ever right now. I like it. Yeah, so Evan Mobley, I mean, this is a night where Evan knocked down 2 more triples. He shot 3 tonight. And one of the biggest things that we were all talking about prior to the year starting was just how many threes Evan would attempt a game. And, in game 1 against Toronto, he goes out and he attempts 2. And tonight he attempts 3. So he is now shooting a pretty efficient, pretty efficient 3 of 5 from 3-point range. So what is that? 60%, right? Just like Dean is. He's shooting 60% from 3-point distance on 3 of 5 from 3-point line. If he is providing his normal defensive dynamism that he does out there at the rim and out on the perimeter, being so switchable as he is, as we've come to know him to be, and he is adding in other areas like in the mid-range game, rim rolling, freeing guys up via the screen, I can live with a lower than expected 3-point attempt list because 3-point attempts, because I do believe that the Evan Mobley breakout is here. Evan would finish the game with 16 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists on him. Another efficient night, 6-12 from the field. Again, 2 of 3 from 3-point distance, 4 steals and 2 blocks. This motherfucker is filling up the stat sheet. I get it. It's Detroit. But now in back-to-back games, is Scotty Barnes. He he shitted on Scotty, and I'm sorry. I don't like taking the shots against some of these other guys from his draft class, but Evan Mobley to me is quickly ascending. He is becoming a big time player. And I think by the end of the season, it may not be far fetched to think that Evan Mobley could be flirting with top 25 player status. He began the year in many conversations being like ranked in the 40 to 50 range, depending upon what outlet you were looking at, whether it be CBS or the Ringer, ESPN, whatever, what have you. But I think by the end of the season, he could very well be a top 25 player. And I love that for him, because on the defensive end, we know he's going to be a defensive player of the year candidate, if not defensive player of the year outright. On the offensive end, that's what we all wanted to see the growth, the leap from him be. And I think that is going to occur this year. And we're watching it happen in real time, as most of us thought we would under Kenny Atkinson. But we have to stay tuned. We got to be patient, and we got to take things a game at a time, grain of salt, that type of thing, as we keep saying. Joe Durant says, going to be a fun season, Mac. Absolutely, man. I can't wait. Crofty says, Evan Mobley will always be my rookie of the year. Fuck yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't care what Canadians say. I don't care what the Raptors fans say, because Evan Mobley is clearly, to me, the better player. Nate says, other superstars sit out back-to-back, Spite out here diving on loose balls. I mean, instantly, when you say stuff like that, it instantly brings to mind, to me, the likes of Joel Embiid, the Kawhi Leonard, players like that. But yes, Spida always gives it his all, and you love that about Spida. Just so many takeaways from tonight. And again, we got to take it with a grain of salt, but I don't know how you watch this team over these last two games and think that they're the same type of team that they were last year. I got so much, I don't know if you guys did, but I saw so much criticism, so much just pessimism. I guess that's the word that I will use. Pessimism surrounding this team after that first game, saying that it's, yes, a shitty team in Toronto, and I'm sure they'll say the same thing about this Detroit team tonight. But to me, it's not. It is one thing. The competition that you're playing, it does matter. Make no mistake. But what I am looking for right now in this team is the stylistic differences. The way that the game is being approached, the way that the game is being played, the mentality of the players. To me, there is a clear-cut difference between what we are seeing now and what we saw last year. And I mean, I'll leave it at that. It's as simple as that. It's not even just a numbers thing either. It is the way that these guys are approaching the way that they play basketball. It's the confidence that they are playing with. And I think a big part of that is confidence being instilled in them in individual ways, whether that is Evan Mobley being a more confident ball handler out there, as we saw the dude bring the ball up bring the ball up and then pull up on people. I mean, it's crazy. You never would have thought Evan Mobley would be capable of that sort of thing last year and the years prior, or whether it be Dean Wade attempting 7 triples. I mean, confidence, the power of confidence, the power of belief, it's a strong ass thing. And I don't think enough people understand that. Speak it into existence, will it into existence, believe in something. And that's my whole mantra, right? That's the whole thing with Mac Perry. That's what I believe in. And I'm just hoping that when the time comes for this team to be tested against, the Bostons of the world, against the Milwaukees of the world, teams like that. And then if you go out west, they have their own juggernauts out there. But at the end of the day, I know that when this team, when time comes for them to be tested, that they will actually pull through and they won't back down. And even if they lose, I'll be happy as long as they're giving their best effort, at least during the regular season. Don't quote me as saying that when the games really, really start to matter in the playoffs. They lose, I'm gonna be pissed either way. But during the regular season, if they lose a big time matchup, it was a close game, and I can clearly see that they gave it their all. They just got outmatched. I'm not going to be pissed, because the mentality shift here is different. And I think it's fair to expect big things from this squad in the, the macro, the big time. overall, big picture type thing. But how can you enjoy these games if you're simply you're nitpicking about everything? I just don't get it. I don't know. But at the end of the day, this was just such a fun ass performance, and I love it from top to bottom. And although we're not getting to see some of the players that I really wanted to see to start, like a Craig Porter Jr. or Jaylon Tyson, two players who I do believe will eventually crack the rotation for this team, I will live with that. They can sit their asses on the bench right now for all I care, as long as we're playing like this. And you can tell them I said that, but it's just been a fun watch. This team, they have a back-to-back, if I'm not mistaken. They will play tomorrow against the Washington Wizards. For those of you who do not know, I actually stay out here. I might see if I can go to that game tomorrow. I live near DC, so I might try and go to that game myself. But I'm hoping that they can replicate a similar performance tomorrow night against the Washington Wizards. With that, I suppose I will leave it at that. That's probably about all the takeaways, all the blabbering, all the yapping I can do about how great this team has looked before people start to give me shit about it. And mind you, this is a game where Donovan did not look his best, right? 19 points, 5 assists. 8 of 21 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3-point distance. If there's one gripe that I have with Donovan, is like, dude, can you not give me my parlay? And I know these players don't give a fuck about parlays, and I can't blame them. But man, one extra triple. You could have gave me one extra triple. In a night where Donovan does not play at his typical level, and Darius is still trying to find his rhythm, from a statistical standpoint and efficiency standpoint, Darius was fine. 5 of 11, 3 of 7 from the field. If you complain about his defense, it's all good. But at the end of the day, I have no doubt in my mind that they'll figure it out. And it just makes you feel good when your best players are having down games and you're still able to pull a win off convincingly, no matter who the competition is, because frankly, you can only play the teams on your schedule. So those of you out there saying, "Oh, we're playing shitty teams," fuck you. You can only play the teams ahead of you. That's how sports work. That is literally how sports work. That being said, as I always tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review. Not enough people are doing that. If you're listening, streaming over on Apple Podcast, if you're streaming on Spotify, leave a rating, write a fucking review. I don't care if it's good or bad. Leave me something, pump those numbers up. And if you're over on YouTube, you're streaming live tonight with me, thank you. I appreciate you. You guys mean the world to me. Hit that like button, smash subscribe. You never know what you'll see. I try and go live after every game if I can. I'm going to try and do a little bit more playback streams this year. Go Cavs.